Captain Elias Drake stood on the cold floor of the great chamber. The walls around him were tall and made of shining black metal that reflected the dim light like water. He looked up and saw the alien Queen Sira sitting on her throne. She was tall and powerful, with shining blue skin and eyes that glowed like stars. Her long silver hair moved as if it had a life of its own. Around her, many strange alien creatures watched silently. The air was thick with tension. Elias's hands were tied behind his back. His heart beat fast, but he did not show fear. He was a man who had faced danger many times in space. But this was different. This was not a battle on a ship. This was a judgment. And the sentence was clear. Death. The Zirathi court was known across the galaxy for being strict and without mercy. Elias had been captured during a mission to explore the Zirathi homeworld. They had accused him of spying and trying to steal their secrets. The Queen had listened to the evidence, but it was not enough to save him. The Council had agreed that a spy was a threat that must be eliminated. Elias looked around. The room was silent except for the soft hum of the energy shields that kept the court safe. His eyes met the Queen's. She looked cold and firm, but behind her sharp gaze there was something else. Elias could not understand what it was. Suddenly from the crowd, a small voice broke the silence. It was soft and trembling. Everyone turned to look. A young Zirathi child stepped forward. Kale was no older than 10 by human years, but had the same glowing blue skin and shining eyes as the Queen. Kale's hair was shorter and darker, and the child's face was full of tears. "Please." "Mother," Kale said, voice shaking with emotion. "Please do not kill him." The Queen's eyes narrowed. "Kale, you know what this man has done. He is a spy and a danger to our people." "But he saved me," Kale said, stepping closer to Elias. "He saved me when I was hurt. I do not want him to die." Elias blinked in surprise. He had no idea this child had seen him before, let alone remembered him. The court was shocked. No one had dared to speak during the trial, much less a child begging the Queen for mercy. The Queen looked at her child. Her face softened for a moment, but then she spoke firmly. "Kale, you are young and do not understand the dangers. A spy cannot be allowed to live. It is the law." Tears ran down Kale's cheeks. "Please, Mother. I beg you. Spare him." The room was silent again. Elias felt his heart lift just a little. The child's bravery had bought him time, but the Queen's words were clear. His life was still at risk. The Queen stood slowly. Her tall figure moved with grace and power. She looked at Elias again. "Very well," she said. "I will delay your execution, but only because Kale has asked. You will be held in the dungeons until I decide your fate." Elias nodded. He did not celebrate. He knew this was only a small mercy in a dangerous place. The guards came forward and took Elias away. Kyle watched with hope in their eyes, but the child's small hands clenched tightly, afraid of what was to come. The dungeon was dark and cold. The walls dripped with moisture, and the air smelled of metal and stone. Elias sat against the wall, thinking about what had just happened. He knew the Queen was powerful and had many enemies. But this child, Kyle, had changed everything. Why had Kyle saved him? Why did the child care so much? Elias remembered the mission that brought him here. He and his team were sent to study the Zirathi technology and learn if they wanted peace or war. But something had gone wrong. The Zirathi had caught him, and now he was a prisoner. Suddenly a small light appeared in the darkness. Elias looked up and saw a guard approaching. But this guard was different. Instead of a weapon, the guard held a small container with food and water. "You will need strength," the guard said quietly, before leaving. Elias ate slowly, grateful for the kindness. He wondered if anyone else on this world would show mercy. Days passed. Elias heard footsteps and voices outside the dungeon. He could feel the weight of the Queen's decision pressing down on him. But every day Kale came to the dungeon quietly. The child would stand outside and talk to him in whispers. "Do you remember me?" Kale asked one day. Elias smiled gently. "No, I don't think so." "You saved me," Kyle said, "when I was little and I fell from the cliffs. No one else cared, but you risked your life to find me." Elias's memory came back slowly. Yes, he remembered now. During a secret mission years before, Elias had been near Kale's village and found the child trapped under fallen rocks. Without thinking of danger, Elias had pulled Kale free. "That was a long time ago," Elias said. "I did not know you were the Queen's child." Kyle nodded. "That is why I want you to live. You are not a spy to me. You are a hero." Elias looked at the child and felt a strange warmth inside. In this cold and dangerous place, Kale's hope was like a small light in the dark. But not everyone was pleased by Kale's kindness. In the palace, advisors whispered and plotted. They said the child was weak to ask for mercy from a human. The Zirathi had suffered many wars and had learned not to trust outsiders. One advisor, General Kor, spoke harshly to the queen. "Your Majesty, this man is a threat. We must not show weakness. Executing him will show our strength." The queen looked tired. "I will decide, Kor, but Kale's words matter to me." The court waited and watched. Elias knew his time was short, but Kale's bravery gave him hope. One evening, Elias sat alone in the dungeon thinking about the future. Could there be peace between humans and Zirathi? Could the child's faith in him be real? Suddenly, a soft voice called through the bars. "Elias," Kale said, "I will not let them take you from me. I promise." Elias looked up and saw the child's eyes shining bright with determination. In that moment, Elias understood something important. Even in the darkest times, kindness and courage could change fate. And so the story of Elias, the human who was sentenced to death by an alien queen, was just beginning. The days in the dungeon felt long and cold to Captain Elias Drake. The gray stone walls pressed in on him, and the small window high above barely let in any light. He had almost lost track of time. But every day, without fail, the child Kale came to visit. Sometimes Kale would bring a small piece of food or water. Other times, the child just stood quietly outside the bars and talked to Elias in a soft voice. Elias had come to look forward to those moments. Kale was different from anyone Elias had ever met among the Zirathi. While the others treated him like an enemy, Kale treated him like a friend. Elias often wondered what made this child so brave. It was unusual for the queen's child to show such kindness to a prisoner sentenced to death. One afternoon, the chamber where Kale waited was quiet. Elias noticed that the child looked tired but still hopeful. Kale's eyes glowed softly as usual, but there was a deeper sadness beneath the surface. "Kyle," Elias said gently, "why do you keep coming? Why do you risk so much for me?" Kale looked down at the ground. After a moment, the child whispered, "I cannot forget what you did for me. You saved my life when I was small, but there is more. I have a secret, Elias, something that no one else knows." Elias leaned closer, curious. "What secret?" Kale hesitated but then spoke, "I have a gift, a power that lets me feel the emotions of others. It is why I know you are not a spy. You did not come to hurt me?" Elias was surprised. He had heard of empathic abilities in some species, but had never met anyone with such a gift. "How does it work?" he asked. Kale closed their eyes and took a deep breath. "I can sense feelings, fear, hope, anger, love. Sometimes it is overwhelming, but with practice I have learned to control it. It is why I understand you." Elias thought about the people he had met in space. Empathy was rare but powerful. "That must be hard to live with," Kale nodded. "Yes, it is why I feel alone sometimes. The others do not understand me. Even my mother finds it difficult." Elias saw the pain behind Kale's words. Here was a child carrying a heavy burden and yet still brave enough to ask for his life to be spared. "Do you think your mother will listen to you?" Elias asked. Kale looked away. "I do not know. She is strong and proud, but she loves me." Before Elias could reply, footsteps echoed outside the dungeon. The door opened and a guard entered, nodding to Kale and Elias. "You have a visitor," the guard said quietly, then left. Elias was confused. Visitors were rare in the dungeon. Kyle smiled. "Follow me," the child said, leading Elias out of the cell. The guards did not stop them. They walked through dark hallways filled with strange symbols and glowing lights. At last they reached a hidden chamber where Kale's small ship sat waiting. Inside, Kale revealed more about the empathic gift. "I have been practicing to control it better. Sometimes I can even share my feelings with others. It is how I tried to reach my mother when she sentenced you." Elias nodded. "That must be difficult, but it is also a gift." Kale looked at Elias with hope. "You have shown me kindness, and now I want to help you." Elias smiled. "Maybe together we can find a way to change the queen's mind." As they talked, Kale showed Elias a small device. It was like a crystal that glowed with soft blue light. "This helps me focus my power," Kale explained. "It is from an ancient time when my people used emotions to heal and protect." Elias examined the device carefully. This could be important. Maybe you can teach me to use it, Kale nodded. I will try. For the first time since his capture, Elias felt a spark of hope. With Kale's secret gift and their courage, they might change the future. Back in the palace, Queen Syra sat in her throne room. Her thoughts were heavy. The child's pleas echoed in her mind. She was a ruler who knew the cost of weakness in war, yet her child's innocence and truth made her question everything she believed. Her advisors argued fiercely for Elias's execution. We cannot afford to show mercy, one said. He could betray us at any moment. Syra raised her hand, silencing them. I will decide when the time is right. Deep inside, the queen felt torn. She had ruled her people with strength and fairness. But Kale's empathy was a reminder that there might be another way. Meanwhile, Elias and Kale spent their days in secret training. Kale taught Elias how to calm his mind and listen to feelings around him. Elias found the lesson strange at first, but soon he could sense emotions more clearly. Fear, sadness, even hope. One day, Elias reached out his hand and felt a faint connection to Kale's feelings. It was like a small bridge between their hearts. This is powerful, Elias said quietly. Kyle smiled. You are learning fast. Their bond grew stronger, and so did their plan. They wanted to show the queen that Elias was not a threat. They wanted to prove that humans and Zerathi could work together. But danger was near. General Kor, the strongest voice against Elias, was preparing a plot. He believed that killing Elias would secure his own power. One evening, Kor met with his followers in a hidden room. The queen is weak, he said. Her child's foolishness will destroy us. We must act before it is too late. The followers nodded. They had weapons and plans to storm the dungeon and kill Elias quietly. Unaware of the threat, Elias and Kyle continued their secret meetings. Kale's gift warned them of growing anger and fear in the palace, but they did not know the full danger. On the day of the planned attack, Elias was resting when Kale burst into the dungeon. Elias, we must move, Kale said urgently. There is a plot to kill you tonight. Elias stood quickly. How do you know? Kale's eyes glowed with urgency. My gift showed me fear and anger. I sense the danger, Elias nodded. We must warn the queen. Together they hurried to the throne room. The guards were surprised to see them outside the dungeon, but Kale's status as the queen's child gave them passage. When they arrived, the queen was in council with her advisors. Elias and Kale stood before her. Mother, Kale said, voice steady, there is a threat to Elias's life. General Kor plans to kill him tonight. The queen's eyes widened. She looked at Elias and then at Kale. Is this true? Kale nodded. I feel it with my gift. We must act quickly. Syra rose from her throne. Guards, secure General Kor and his followers. Protect Captain Drake. The guards moved fast. Kor and his men were caught before they could strike. After the danger passed, the queen looked at Elias with new respect. You have survived not only my judgment, but the threats of my own people. That shows strength, Elias bowed. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only want peace between our worlds, Kale smiled. We can learn from each other. Syra's eyes softened. Perhaps there is hope for the future. That night, Elias sat beside Kale in the quiet palace garden. Stars shone above them like diamonds. The air was cool and calm. Kale looked at Elias. You saved me once, and now I have saved you. Maybe that is fate, Elias smiled. It feels like a new beginning. Together, they watched the stars, dreaming of a day when humans and Zerathi would stand side by side, not as enemies, but as friends. The palace of the Zerathi gleamed under the twin suns of the alien world. Inside, the air was thick with whispers and silent glances. The tension was not gone, even though General Kor and his followers were locked away. Many still saw Captain Elias Drake as a threat, a human who had no place in Zerathi society. But others, including the alien Queen Syra, saw something different: hope. Elias was allowed to move freely within a special wing of the palace. Guards watched him closely, but the child Kale remained his constant companion and guide. Kale was eager to help Elias understand their culture, their technology, and their people. Together they explored the palace and the city beyond. One morning, Elias and Kale stood on a balcony overlooking the vast Zerathi capital. Towers rose high, built with strange, shining materials that seemed alive. Flying vehicles zipped through the sky. It was a world very different from Earth, but beautiful in its own way. Your people have built something incredible, Elias said, watching the activity below. Kale smiled. Yes, but sometimes we forget that strength alone is not enough. We need wisdom and kindness too. Elias nodded. That is true for all people. Suddenly a messenger approached. He bowed and handed Kale a sealed message from the Queen. Kale's face grew serious. My mother wants to speak with you, Elias, now. Elias felt a mix of nerves and hope. He followed Kale through winding halls to the Queen's private chamber. The room was large and filled with soft blue light. Queen Sira sat on her throne, her eyes calm but focused. Captain Drake, she said, you have lived among us longer than most humans would dare. Your courage has surprised many. But there is much you do not understand about the Jirathi. I want to learn, Elias replied. Sira nodded. Then you must prove that your intentions are true. We face threats beyond your knowledge, enemies from other systems who want to destroy us. If you can help us defend our world, perhaps trust can grow. Elias felt the weight of her words. This was a test, but also an opportunity. I will do everything I can, he said firmly. The Queen motioned to Kale. Your child believes in you. That is a rare gift. Kale smiled but looked away, shy. Sira continued. I will give you access to some of our technology. Study it, use it wisely. Elias's heart beat faster. This was more than he had hoped for. Over the next weeks, Elias dived into the mysteries of Jirathi technology. With Kale by his side, he learned to operate strange devices that could control energy, heal wounds, and communicate across great distances. The Jirathi were brilliant engineers, and Elias admired their skill. One day, while studying a device that looked like a glowing orb, Elias asked Kale, "What is this?" Kyle smiled. It is called a mind link. It allows two beings to share thoughts and feelings. Elias looked intrigued. Can I try it? Kale nodded. Yes, but be careful. It can be overwhelming. They connected through the mind link, and Elias felt a rush of images and emotions. He saw Kale's memories, fears, and hopes. It was as if they were inside each other's minds. When they disconnected, Elias was breathless. That is incredible, Kyle laughed softly. It is why I can understand you so well. Their bond grew stronger every day. Together they dreamed of a future where humans and Jirathi could work side by side. But not all were happy with this growing friendship. In the shadows of the palace, a group of Jirathi nobles whispered their anger. They believed that humans could never be trusted. Some had lost family in wars with other human explorers. They saw Elias as a danger, a spy waiting to strike again. One of the nobles, Lady Vera, spoke sharply. The Queen's mercy will be our ruin. This human must be watched closely. Another nodded. We cannot let him weaken our people's resolve. They planned to send spies to watch Elias and Kale. They hoped to find proof of betrayal and bring it to the Queen. But Elias and Kale were careful. They knew they were being watched. One evening, as the twin suns set and the city glowed with light, Elias and Kale met in a quiet garden. The air was cool, and flowers with glowing petals surrounded them. Do you think we can change their minds? Elias asked. Kale looked at the stars. I hope so, but we must be patient. Change takes time. Suddenly a voice called out from the shadows. It was one of the palace spies. You should not trust the Queen's court, the spy warned. There are many who want you gone. Elias stood tall. We will not give up. The spy disappeared into the night. The next day, Elias and Kale prepared for a mission. The Queen had asked Elias to lead a small team to investigate a nearby star system. There had been strange signals, and the Jirathi feared an attack. As Elias gathered supplies, Kyle joined him. Be careful, the child said. Elias smiled. I will return with answers. Their ship was unlike any Elias had seen before. Sleek and fast, it was powered by energy collected from stars. Elias felt a thrill as they lifted off from the planet. In space, the mission was dangerous. The team navigated asteroid fields and fought against unknown forces. Elias used the skills he had learned from the Jirathi technology and Kale's empathic guidance. Together, they worked like a well-oiled machine. One night, while orbiting a small moon, Elias received a strange signal. It was a call for help from an unknown ship. Elias ordered the team to investigate. They found a damaged vessel drifting in space. Inside were survivors from a species Elias had never seen. They were scared and weak. Elias offered help. We come in peace. We will protect you. The survivors looked at Elias and then at Kale. The child's glowing eyes gave them hope. Back on the Jarathi world, news of Elias's mission spread. Some still doubted him, but many began to believe in the possibility of alliance. The queen watched carefully, knowing that the future of her people could change forever. One evening she called Elias and Kale to her chamber. "You have shown bravery and wisdom," she said, "but the greatest challenge lies ahead. We must face the enemies who threaten us all." Elias nodded. "Together we can be stronger." Kyle smiled. "For the future." The queen's eyes shone with a new light. "Then we must prepare." The peace that had begun to bloom between the humans and the Jarathi was fragile. Captain Elias Drake stood once again on the balcony of the palace, watching the twin suns set below the horizon. His thoughts were heavy with the queen's warning. A great threat was coming, not from their own worlds, but from beyond the stars. Kale stood beside him, the child's glowing eyes filled with worry. "The enemies the queen spoke of are different," Kale said softly. "They are powerful and without mercy." Elias nodded. "We must prepare. But first we need to know who we face." The queen had given Elias access to the royal archives, ancient data stored in crystal chambers deep beneath the palace. For days and nights Elias studied the records. He learned about the Rakthar, a fierce and warlike species known across the galaxy for their cruelty and hunger for conquest. They destroyed planets, took prisoners, and left nothing behind. If the Rakthar came to the Jarathi world, it could mean the end of their civilization. Kyle and Elias worked together to build a plan. They met with the queen's advisors, showing the data and warning of the Rakthar's arrival. Some listened carefully, others looked away, afraid or unwilling to believe the danger. General Kor, still locked away but watched closely, sneered. He believed that war was the only answer, and that Elias was part of a weak peace that would fail. The queen's voice was firm. "We will not face this enemy divided. We must unite." Elias felt the weight of that truth. He was no longer just a prisoner or a guest. He was part of a greater cause, one that could save or destroy two worlds. The preparations were immense. The Jarathi warriors trained day and night. Elias shared human tactics and strategies while learning the Jarathi ways of combat and defense. Kale continued to grow stronger with their empathic gift, helping to heal the wounded and inspire hope. One afternoon, while training in the palace grounds, Elias noticed Kale watching him closely. "Do you worry?" Elias asked. Kale nodded. "Yes, I feel the fear of many, but I also feel hope." "You have taught me much," Elias smiled, "and you have taught me the meaning of courage." They both knew the battle ahead would test everything they had. Meanwhile, deep in the dark reaches of space, the Rakthar fleet moved swiftly. Their ships were large and menacing, with dark armor that seemed to absorb light. The Rakthar commanders planned their attack carefully, knowing the Jarathi had allies now. One Rakthar leader, Commander Vrax, was especially cruel. He saw the Jarathi as weak and believed the humans were nothing but pests. "Our conquest will be swift," Vrax said to his captains. "No mercy for those who stand against us." Back on the Jarathi world, the first sign of the Rakthar invasion came unexpectedly. A warning signal blared across the capital as scouts spotted a large fleet entering their system. The queen called her council immediately. Elias stood beside her, calm but ready. "The Rakthar are here," the queen said. "We must act now." Kale placed a hand on Elias's arm. "We will face them together." The battle began in the skies above the Jarathi world. Ships clashed in brilliant explosions of light and energy. Elias commanded a squadron of fighters using both human and Jarathi technology. The fight was fierce and the Rakthar were relentless. From the ground, Kyle used their gift to calm the fear of the people. They sent waves of hope and courage through the city, helping the warriors and citizens alike to stay strong. Elias's ship dodged laser blasts and enemy fighters. He remembered Kale's lessons and the mind-link device. Reaching out, he connected with Kale. Together, they shared thoughts and feelings, working as one. "Focus on the largest ship," Kale said in his mind. Elias nodded. "On it." With Kale's guidance, Elias's squadron targeted the Rakthar command ship. The battle was difficult, but they pushed forward. Suddenly, an explosion rocked Elias's ship. Alarms blared. He managed to steady the controls and saw damage, but kept fighting. Kale sensed Elias's fear and sent a strong wave of calm. Elias took a deep breath and pushed forward. With a final blast, Elias's squadron hit the command ship's engine core. The enemy ship shuddered and exploded into space debris. The victory lifted the spirits of the Jirathi. The Rakthar retreated, but it was clear this was only the beginning. The queen gathered her people. "Today we fought not just for survival but for our future," she said. "We will rebuild, grow stronger, and protect our homes." Elias stood beside her, proud to be part of this world. Kyle smiled at Elias. "You have become a true warrior of the Jirathi." In the days that followed, Elias and Kale worked to strengthen the alliance between humans and Jirathi. They shared knowledge and trained together, preparing for whatever threats might come. The queen spoke privately with Elias one evening. "You have earned your place here," she said. "Your bravery and heart have changed many minds." Elias bowed. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only want peace." Syra nodded. "Peace is not easy, but with courage and friendship it is possible." The story of Elias and Kale was no longer just about survival. It was about hope, unity, and the power of trust between different worlds. As the twin suns rose again, Elias knew their greatest challenges were still ahead. But with Kale by his side, and the strength of two peoples united, he believed they could face anything. The Jirathi world was quiet after the battle. The scars of war were visible. The sky was filled with smoke and buildings had been damaged. But the people stood proud, stronger than ever. Captain Elias Drake walked through the city with Kale by his side. They saw the citizens rebuilding their homes, helping each other with hands and hearts united. Elias looked up at the twin suns shining brightly in the sky. "This world is full of life and hope," he said softly. "I am glad to be here." Kyle smiled. "We have come far, but the real journey is just beginning." In the grand hall of the palace, Queen Sira sat on her throne, her expression calm but filled with determination. The advisors and nobles were gathered around. Some still looked doubtful, but most listened carefully. The queen spoke clearly. "The Rakthar threat has been pushed back, but they will return. We must be ready. More than that, we must build a future where war is not the only path." Elias stepped forward. "I have seen many worlds torn apart by fear and hate. But I have also seen what friendship can do. If we work together, humans and Jirathi, we can protect our people and build peace." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Some nodded, others remained silent. But the queen's words held weight. Sira continued, "Starting today, we will open our world to allies from across the stars. We will share our knowledge and welcome those who seek peace." Kyle watched the crowd with bright eyes. "This is the beginning of something great," the child said. Elias agreed. "And it will take all of us to make it work." As the days passed, Elias and Kyle worked tirelessly. They helped organize teams to repair the city, train new warriors, and teach the importance of understanding between different peoples. The MindLink device became a symbol of hope, a way to connect hearts across cultures. One evening, Kale invited Elias to the palace garden. The air was cool and soft lights flickered like stars among the trees. "I want to show you something," Kale said, leading Elias to a small pool of water. The water shimmered and reflected images, not just of the garden but of distant worlds and stars. Kyle touched the surface and the images changed to show the future: bright cities, peaceful gatherings, and new friendships. Elias was amazed. "Is this your gift?" Kyle nodded. "Yes, it helps me see what could be. I want us to reach that future." Elias smiled. "I will do everything I can to help." News from other systems soon arrived. Some sent envoys to visit the Jirathi world. They brought gifts, knowledge, and stories of their own struggles and hopes. It was the beginning of a new era of cooperation. Among the visitors was a human fleet commander named Lena, who had fought in many battles. She greeted Elias warmly. "I've heard much about you," she said. "Your courage saved many lives. We need more leaders like you." Elias nodded. "Thank you, Commander. Together we can build a stronger future." But not all was peaceful. In the shadows, some still held old fears and grudges. There were whispers of rebellion from those who did not trust humans or the Queen's new vision. One night, Elias received a secret message from a Jirathi warrior named Rin. The message warned of a small group planning to sabotage the peace efforts. Elias shared the news with Kale and the Queen. Sira acted swiftly, sending trusted guards to stop the rebels before they could harm anyone. The danger passed without bloodshed, But it was a reminder that change was never easy. Elias and Kale knew their work was far from over. One afternoon, Kale asked Elias, "Do you ever miss Earth?" Elias looked up at the sky. "Sometimes, but here I have found a new home." Kale smiled. "I am glad. You are part of my family now." Elias's heart warmed. "And you are part of mine." As the months went by, the bond between humans and Jarathi deepened. Together, they built schools where children from both worlds learned side by side. They created councils where voices from different planets could be heard. They shared stories, music, and dreams. In a special ceremony, Queen Sira honored Elias and Kale for their courage and friendship. The people cheered, celebrating not just a victory in battle, but a victory of hope. The Queen said, "Today, we honor those who dared to believe in peace. May their example light the way for all." Elias felt proud, but he knew the true honor was in the work ahead. That night, Elias and Kale stood together under the stars. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky full of sparkling light. "We have come a long way," Elias said softly. "And I believe the best is still to come." Kyle nodded. "Together we can face any challenge." They looked at each other and smiled. A human and an alien child, friends united by courage, hope, and a promise of peace. And so, the story of Elias and Kale became a legend across the stars, a story of an unlikely friendship that changed the fate of two worlds. A story that showed that even when the alien queen ordered a man's death, the cry of a child could save him, and in doing so, save the future.